All right, welcome back to KM6LYW Radio. This is a show about amateur radio or ham radio with an emphasis on digital or data modes, sending information through radios. Today, again, is no exception. We're going to use one of these simple amateur radios. We call this an HT. There's a couple of different manufacturers here, but you can not only talk on these, but you can send simple messages, and those could be potentially emails or SMS messages. So any radio that has APRS enabled APRS capabilities can send and receive email. And that'll be the focus today on KM6 LYW radio. Yeah, all right, welcome back. Yeah, that's the bumper music. Yeah, normally I do the guitar thing, but I'm kind of running out of guitar jingles, so I apologize for that. All right, so sending email over your APRS enabled HT, that's the goal today. If you want to send SMS messages to like a cellular telephone or a mobile device, I've got other videos for that, so look up SMS and KM6LYW, and we'll send SMS messages back and forth using one of these. But today we're going to do email. There's a couple of different ways to do this. APRS network, if you're not already familiar with it, is this global data network of APRS enabled radios, and they're all sharing information. It's kind of like the data service on your cell phone. There's repeaters out there, just like there's voice repeaters, and they're repeating these little tiny packets. For the most part, and unfortunately for most people, they think APRS is just you sending your GPS location every now and then so someone can see you on a Google map. APRS is so much more than that. We can send email and SMS messages, like I said, especially for those repeaters that are connected to the internet. So all of these towers are connected to the internet and RF networks at the same time, and we can gate information back and forth. Email is just one example. SMS is another. There's lots of others as well. So we've got this cool physical network, and I don't think we leverage it enough. So let's talk about sending email back and forth using one of these HTs. And let me make myself a whole lot smaller here. We've got all kinds of radio stuff going on here. Now, over here on my right, we've got the DigiPi. We'll talk more about that. You don't know what the DigiPi is yet. You haven't seen this channel. This is an amateur radio data transceiver. And right now it's in TNC mode, so we can talk to it as like a packet radio. And it's plugged into this ICOM 705 over here, which is an excessively expensive radio that's tuned to 144.390 in America, and then in Europe you're going to be on 144.8 megahertz. Okay, so right now that is a APRS TNC, and I can talk to it using my mobile device. In this case, I've got. Let me see if I can make this smaller. APRS Droid. So this is an Android tablet here. An APRS Droid can start tracking, and it's going to connect to this TNC over here, and you notice it just sent a position beacon, and the little blue Bluetooth light lit up because it's connected to it over Bluetooth. So you're looking at my Android tablet, and you're seeing a lot of APRS traffic going back and forth. In fact, this radio is going nuts too because it can hear those beacons going back and forth. Okay, so let's see if we can send emails. Now, there's two ways, like I said. You maybe know one of them. One of the more traditional ones is to use, you send a message to a call sign called email. So APRS radios can send messages to each other. Basically, they're sending messages to another call sign. So I can send an APRS message to call sign KM6LYW and then some message text after that, and you can do that using the messaging function of your radio. In this case, there's a virtual radio, and its call sign is email, email. That's his call sign. So you send a APRS message to a call sign of email, and it can be the content of that message would be like a regular email address, like your name at gmail.com, and then some short message. So email will do this. So the APRS network can do very basic email stuff. And it's pretty simple, and you can technically reply to it, though. Read this URL. It's aprs-is.net/email.aspx. Okay, and it's going to give you some information on how to send short emails through the email virtual radio on the APRS network. And so let's just see if we can do it. So what I'm going to do for right now, I am actually going to use my Android device and the APRS TNC over here that you see in this guy, and he's connected to this radio. And we're just going to do a real practical example. I promise we'll do it over the actual radio that you guys have in your hands. But let's just go over to the messaging link here. And I'm going to send a message to, the message is going to be to email, like I said. And the message is going to be an email address. And I'm not going to say it out loud. A space, and then like some text, like this is an email message over RF. Now you only get, like 67 characters in your message. So I'm going to send that, and you're going to watch over here, and you're going to see this thing start transmitting, hopefully. And then down here, you see it says email sent. Okay. I don't know if I just got a bunch of pop-ups that I got an email message here. So that's all we did. We sent an APRS message, and the content of the message was my email address, space, and then a short message. That message was sent to a call sign called email, E-M-A-I-L. That's what we did here. And then at this point, we actually got a response, an APRS message back from a virtual radio of email. And it says email sent to my email address, which I'm not saying out loud. I'll thank you in advance for not spamming that. So if we go look at our email thing here, our email client, we see this is an email message over RF. So we actually sent ourselves an email using the radio. In this case, it was the DigiPi and an Android device. And it came back through the internet. It went through a bunch of iGates out there somewhere, and then some of those iGates are on the internet, and then that relayed that information to the virtual call sign of email that's running on a server somewhere. And then it relayed that email back out to my a hosting provider, my Gmail. So I got it in Gmail. So we use the email call sign to send email. So that's one way to do it. You'll notice it says do not reply right here. So if you receive one of these emails over RF, you can reply to these, but it's really complicated. The subject line has to be formatted perfectly. It has to be a pre-approved email address. Go ahead and check out this website on how to do that. It can be kind of glitchy to reply to these, but at least you can get an email out. Like if you're totally in a jam, you could do it that way. All right, so that covers using the email virtual radio. There's another virtual radio address out there, and this one uses the Winlink email backend. So Winlink is a global radio email service. This works on HF and VHF. You can use AX.25 networking and talk to other actual Winlink servers that are out there all over the world, on land, and it works all over the world. But you can actually access your Winlink email through the APRS network. So you're using kind of a different physical network to access your Winlink email account. Setting up an account is really just going to winlink.org/user. You need to set yourself up there, your call sign and a password. The first time you use Winlink using one of their pieces of client software, it will basically set up your account that way. So look up how to set up a Winlink email account. I'm going to leave that out of scope for this one. But what we want to do, what is in scope for this video, is to check our Winlink email. That's going to be your call sign at winlink.org, and check that email using your radio. So let's see if we can do that. So this is another way to do email. All right, so I'm going to close my messages with the email radio station. And I'm going to send a message to, and this call sign is the one you're going to want to remember. It's WLNK-1. That's the APRS Winlink server. APRS Winlink server. So we're not connecting to Winlink directly, where we're doing it indirectly through the APRS network. You're going to find there's a lot more APRS infrastructure than Winlink infrastructure, at least in my travels. And so in this case, I'm just going to say, actually, we can go over here to get our list of commands. If we go to winlink.org/APRS link, that's capital APRSL and then INK, APRS link, and we'll see the commands we can send to the station called WLNK-1. So let's send a command to station WLNK-1. We're going to do it over the APRS network. Let me bring this back. And I'm just going to do an L. I'm just going to say L. This is supposed to list my messages. Now, I haven't actually logged in or authenticated here, so I do expect it to do an authentication challenge. So I'm going to go ahead and send this right now. We'll watch over here on the DigiPi. We should see this packet go out to the WLNK-1 radio. And there it goes. It transmitted it. So it looks like we got repeated by a nearby station. It's saying invalid login challenge response, one attempt remaining. Because I did this before, but I didn't actually log in. What it normally does, it says login and then 1, 2, 3 numbers. So 2, 3, 6 in my case. Now, when you get a Winlink password. Your Winlink password is going to be, in this example, it's 1A2BCD. I just made that up. So what you need to do is send a 6-character response, and then somewhere in those 6 characters, you need to have the things that's in position 2. So let's see, that's an A. Thing that's in position 3, that's a 2, and then position 6 is a D. So A2D is positions 2, 3, and 6 in this particular example. I'm not going to use my actual password, so I'm going to do the same kind of authentication challenge here using mine. Let's see, it's 236, so that's going to be H7A, and then I'm going to do like XXX. It's just going to be a 3 thing, just to help obfuscate it a little bit. So H7A XXX. Boy, I hope we got this right. So it's 236. I'm going to make absolutely sure I got it right. So H, and then the 3rd letter in my password is a 7. That's the 3rd. And then the 6th letter in my password is an A, and that's the A. And then I just put some X's on the end of there and say, okay. Let's see what this happens. This is our challenge response. I did this earlier, and you get locked out after a while if you don't do it right. I guess you get 3 attempts. Luckily, I got it right, and you can see it says, hello, KM6LYW. Login valid for 2 hours. So I don't have to do this login challenge for 2 more hours since I got my password right. All right, so at this point, we want to check our Winlink email, or maybe we can send email. Let me minimize this guy. So the Winlink commands are pretty simple. What I like to do is the short one. There's one command called SMS, and you just say SMS, then an email address, and then a short message. Okay, and again, the constraint here is about 67 characters total. So let's do that. I'm going to send to the virtual call sign WLNK-1. I'm going to say SMS KM6LYW at my hosting provider. Please don't spam that. This is a test from Winlink. All right, and then I'm going to say OK, and you're going to watch it go out over RF here. It's going to go out into the APRS network, and one of those things on that APRS network will actually have an internet connection, and it'll relay it to the email servers on Winlink, and then I'll get it on my cell phone here as an actual email. So SMS, it stands for like short message, I guess. It's not an actual SMS, it's actually an email. This is just the name of the command. SMS, my email address, space, and then some message. So here it goes, going out. All right, got transmitted. Looks like we got repeated, and if you got repeated, it usually means it bounced around, found something on the internet, and then sure enough, we see message sent to my email address. Now again, we should be able to go to my email client, and we're going to refresh that. And looky here, I just got an email that says, this is a test from Winlink. And it gives you a little more information about where I am and my position and stuff like that. But ultimately here is the message. So I was able to send email through Winlink using nothing more than the APRS network. Now what's kind of also cool is to say, you can actually reply through these as well. So I'm going to reply to my Winlink email address here, and I'm just going to say got it, and I'm going to delete quoted text. Again, you only get about 60 something characters. You don't want to put like a bunch of paragraphs on there. It's just going to jam the frequency. So I'm going to say send that. Now if we look over on APRS client, we should get a response back here from, I don't know if it's going to be from Winlink. We might have to wait a little while for it to get through the system, because I send an email back from the internet, and that's going to go to the Winlink servers, and that's going to relay that to the APRS network, and then that's going to go out over RF. So I should get a message from WLink-1. In fact, what I might do, I don't think it's auto sending, is what I can do is to say L to list pending messages. So I'm going to send a message to the station WLNK-1, and the message is just going to be L for list messages. I'm going to hit enter here. There it goes over the APRS network. Hopefully the Winlink service says, hey, yeah, you've got one message from, actually it doesn't say who it's from. Actually, I get 2 messages. I didn't know I had a couple of messages in there. But we can read one or all of those. So message 1 and message 2. So message 1 is the one I said that says, this is a test from Winlink. Excuse me, we can read that. And to read a message, I think you just type R and then the number. It's really that simple. You kind of have to remember these. So I want to read message 1. This reminds me of like mutt. Actually, I don't think there's a space. I'm just going to type R1, and then we'll read message 1. All right, that just went out over RF, over APRS. And you could be anywhere in the world, which is just cool. And then the message says, regarding this is a test from Winlink, from SMTP, from my email addresses. And then the message was, got it. You'll notice it broke it into two APRS messages because an APRS message can really only be about 67 characters. So it actually broke the message, got it into two different lines here. So we did it. We sent email through the email gateway and APRS. We also sent and received email using the Winlink radio service, and we did it all over the APRS network. Now we use some pretty high-tech software here. We use the DigiPi. We use APRS Android on our mobile device here. But let's go ahead and do this with the radio. Now it's a lot harder to type on these radios. I get that. That's why I use this mobile device and a DigiPi to do most of my APRS operations. But let's see if we can do that. I'm going to go ahead and turn this guy on. This is my Yaesu FT1XDR. This is my most favorite radio for this kind of work. That Kenwood makes these. At least they used to, like the D74. Oddly enough, you can't get a full-featured APRS radio from ICOM. Actually, let me put this in. This is still receiving data. Let me put this in digipeater mode. Actually, what I'm going to do, so we just can't have too many radios connected to this. So I am going to say stop tracking. That's going to disconnect my phone. And you'll notice the little blue light will go out over here once I disconnect, because I use Bluetooth to connect to this thing. Yeah, little light went out. Okay, this is connected. My phone's not connected to APRS anymore. So what I want to do now is turn the DigiPi from a TNC. I want to turn it into a digipeater. I can do that by simply pressing this button. And now we'll see the DigiPi turns into an APRS digipeater, and we're going to use it with this radio here. So this radio and this radio are going to talk to each other. Now the DigiPi is also on the internet, so we can do, it'll do the email transfers as well. So let's see a good way to do this. I'm going to move these cameras around here real quick. I'm not going to make you endure me moving cameras around. All right, that should be a little better. Actually, I got a light that comes and goes on me too. So here I am on my Yaesu radio, and I just want to maybe check my email or send an email here. I'm going to press the function key and this key, and I'm going to press this again, and it gets me to my APRS message list. You notice I've already got two in there. I got WLNK-1, and I've also got email in there. So I just want to maybe send an email. I'm going to click on this one. And I'm going to say SMS. I don't know if you can see it there. It says SMS, and then my email address, and I'm going to say email over RF. And I don't know, maybe I'll just have it say, since we've already had one that says this, I can scroll through this and do some editing. You can actually see it pretty good. Email over RF, and I'm going to say instead of exclamation point. I'm going to go back, press clear, press enter, put a space. And then I'm going to say the number 2. So we'll know it's a different message. Yeah, it's a hassle to type on these. Remember, that's like ancient cell phone technology. All right, and I can transmit. It just transmitted and then repeated. And you'll see message sent to KM6LYW at Gmail. That actually came back over RF. It's sending acknowledgments and things like that. So that's cool. So there's a duplicate message from the email server. So I actually sent an email using APRS on this radio. It went through a digipeater, and this digipeater could be anywhere in the world. Right now is most likely this one because I basically have this dummy load antenna. Now we should be able to go over to my email on my phone or mobile device right here. Let me make this smaller, switch over to email, and sure enough, here is an email that I sent from my HT using nothing more than my HT and whatever APRS infrastructure was in my area. In this case, it was the ICOM 705 and the DigiPi and digipeater mode. All right, we did it. It was sent below is automatic. Subject contains message, and it says email to over RF. It says email over RF2. That was the message, and then it gives some more information about my radio. So we got the message, and of course we can reply to this, and the message will go back to the radio. Let's just do this for fun. I'm gonna say delete quoted text. Now this is me on my phone or mobile device saying, hey, this is a reply, and I'm doing an exclamation point. And they come through pretty quick, so I'm going to actually get the radio set up right before I send it here. I just need one more arm, and I can make this work. All right, I'm going to say send. I was thinking it doesn't automatically send the response. I might have to actually check. There is a feature, I might have to check the mail, where you can say, just go ahead and forward it to my radio. Don't make me check for it. I don't remember where it is. You can turn it on for a while here. It's one of these commands here. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and say L for list messages, and I'm just going to list the messages that were sent to my radio. Remember, we just sent one to the radio using a reply. So I'm going to go to the Winlink radio station, WLNK-1, and I'm not going to send an email address. All I'm going to do is send it the letter L. Can you guys see that? Ah, man, that's tough. I'm going to clear the message. In the message check, which is really hard to read, JKL, I should say L. It does. I'm going to send that. And there's activity right now. So there it goes. I sent them the letter L to station WLNK-1. I should list the messages that are in my inbox. Yep, there's one right there. It says email over RF. It's probably going to send me multiple. I think it'll send up to 5. Email over RF. Press this a few times. Not trying to change frequencies. It's sending it over and over. You can see WLNK-1. And this is sending acknowledgments. There's another one. NorCal Winlink Net. That was the other thing that was in my inbox. So that came through. Anyways, those emails came through. We can read them on our email screen once it stops receiving this flurry of emails. There's one. This is a test from Winlink. And that's it. That is it. I want to make sure I get that reply too. This is that Winlink net. Now this is email over RF2. This is a reply from that. All right, so you guys get the point. Using this is tricky, like you just saw. I just kind of messing around with it. Using the DigiPi with a real APRS radio and your mobile device is going to be a lot easier. But if you're in the field somewhere and all you have is this, you can send and receive email. That's a really important thing to know, especially if you don't have cellular or mobile device. If you're at your home or base station, I would just highly recommend just getting APRS Droid for your mobile device. This works on your phone and whatnot. Let me see if I can just go home. I don't want to see my apps. APRS Droid is a simple APRS client. It works over Bluetooth, works over TCP/IP. If you have a DigiPi, this will connect to APRS Droid and connect to your radio, so you can just operate your radio from your mobile device. All right, we did it, guys. I know that was a lot of going back and forth. We sent and received email to our Winlink email address, and we sent email to using the APRS more rudimentary email service. I sent email to ourselves back and forth. I gave away my email address. I appreciate it if you don't share that with anyone. I hope I didn't say it, because this hosting provider will actually provide those transcripts. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me here. This is totally fun. I love APRS. I think it's probably my favorite mode. Honestly, it's just fantastic. Let me see. All right, so this is the DigiPi right here. This is the web interface. It's a TNC. It's an iGate. It's got AX.25 networking. It's got R.dot modem. It can do PAT email, HF. It can do JS8 call, FT8. Slow scan television. It'll do all those modes, all via your phone or web browser. That's what makes DigiPi kind of cool. And the people who make that possible are the patrons of the channel. So patrons of the patreon.com/KM6LYW will get access to that DigiPi SD card image, put it in your Raspberry Pi, and rock. So thank you, patrons. Let me see if I can pull up our patron list here. All right, so Fu, Steve, NW2W, Ryan, BS, Jake, Christopher, Tony, Michael, Ian, Simon, Brad, Buddy, Kevin, Robert. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. I don't know if you guys are keeping count, but I think we're looking at like 300 or so patrons. There's a lot of DigiPi users out there. We got a whole Discord channel about that. If you want to know more about the DigiPi itself, go out to digipi.org and how to make one, all the modes, your shopping list. There's wiring schematics if you want to hook it up to a traditional dual band rig. If you don't have a USB based radio, how to configure it all with a web browser. All you guys have made this possible. So Jeff, Marcio, Tom, Mike, James, Ziggy Zog, thank you, Steve, Fred, W1FRD, thank you, Fred. Really appreciate it, man. Douglas, Jerry, Aaron, Christian, W7MBP, thank you, James, Mark Lockwood, Phil, Franz, thank you, sir. A lot of international community here, it's not just America's, APRS and these radio modes are going international. This is global stuff. Jurgen, thank you, David, Roger, Steiner? I'm sure I'm saying some of these wrong. M. Butts, I got to be saying that one right. Thank you, M. Butts, Dustin, Bob, Keith, Jacob, Matthew, Carl, Christian, Don, Svien, Ross, Calvin, Bertram. Unbelievable amount of support here. Thank you so much, guys. All right, so you guys are sending and receiving email using nothing more than your HT in the field, or maybe you're sending and receiving email using APRS with a much more complicated TNC, modem kind of setup, maybe using a DigiPi or something similar. All right, hey, my name is Craig. I'm in California, and I am clear.